Hello, my fabulous patrons. I'm taking you to Venice. I give you a traceable and a photograph. I go over step by step how I would do this, how I would tack this picture. It is a complicated picture, so it is a little long tutorial. So let me know if you're having struggle with it. Even myself, I struggle with this. You're gonna have to go many layers with this kind of situation over and over, and you can actually use a pen in the end, kind of playing with that, or you could draw it all in with pen and ink and then go and wash it in. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and let's get started. Okay, patrons, so you have the photograph, you have the traceable, and so for this technique, we're just not painting these little perfect little windows and perfect little colors and the little things. It's supposed to be like when you're painting watercolor, you should have like more of a expression, like a style. And you can just paint this exactly as is, but no, we don't want to go there today. So, brushes I'll be playing with will be Princeton 12 Neptune series. Maybe even like a 10 of this aqua because it's kind of stiff. And we want to do a technique where we're just painting really kind of loose and have some gestural kind of marks with the water and everything. I think when you get bogged down with every little detail, we don't want that. We want like really kind of a loose painting of this scene. I know I looked through a bunch of photographs and I myself, you just get overwhelmed. Like, what do I paint? There's so many things to paint. I think I just got to break it down to simple shapes and simple things. And then it comes out like more of an expression of what you saw. It just becomes overwhelming when you look at photographs. And I know everyone goes through that, including myself. Your brain just wants to paint everything, wants to do everything, wants to see everything. And you have to kind of scale your brain back a little bit. You see in this, and I wouldn't have to necessarily, you can accentuate the colors. You don't have to paint these colors as is, how muted. You can make them more contrasty. You can make them more vibrant. You can change it up. They're kind of pink tones and like some grays, but you can make them more like rustic Italian colors, like you would see like those burnt sienna, like, all those kind of colors. You can punch it up a little bit. So we're going to play with that today. They have yellow ochre. Here's a yellow ochre color. I like this. I'm going to start playing with these kind of colors more because I'm hitting some places like Morocco and Tuscany soon. Some of you are coming to those retreats. And see, like, there's the burnt sienna and there's the yellow ochre. Of course, they look very like Southwest colors. And you can add in magenta or rose. See, and it changes that, like that peachy kind of rustic pinky color. So Venice has a lot of like these pink tones. Here's bright rose. I'm like loosening this up. I hope you can see this. Pink tones. I wouldn't paint it pink. Maybe add a little burnt umber, make it a little brown pink. Again, you can get stuck on like the photograph, what it looks like. Always look for the light values and the medium tones. Just squint your eye and you can see like a lot of the mediums are like in here. And then in here, of course, we have the darker values hitting the shade over here and down in here. And then the light values. So you can put a wash in of like a pinky yellowish kind of wash, like a blush first. I might just mix up a bunch of different colors here. I have those burnt yellow ochre, right? And I had that burnt sienna and I have that pink. I'm just going to mix up a bunch of colors here, mixing them all together. Play around with it. You can practice on your paper towel. If that color seems like it works for you, do that. I might mix a little for you. So that's kind of how I work. It's kind of crazy in my brain sometimes, but it works. So I'll start beginning. I'm using the number 10 Aqua Elite. And let's see. I'm just going to just loosely paint like this. See? It's not the right pink color and don't have to match it. I kind of do what I want to do here. And I'll put the first wash in and I'm just kind of loosely painting this like this. And I'm going to put another color probably on top of that. Don't get bogged down with like that there's blue windows, make them all kind of gray. Obviously there's a lot of light shining here. This will dry a little bit later. I want to lift up some of the paint because I don't want it too colorful. It's supposed to be pretty light over there. So I have that yellow ochre mixed with some of that pink that I had there. And I'm just going to kind of like lightly, just really loosely stick this color in. See, I'm going to grab a little more water. Just really kind of loosely stick that color in. Again, we want to get to the brass tacks of just painting in the painting. We don't want to have to like worry about so much, you know, is it the perfect color or not? So mine's a little more yellow than the pink. Just kind of washing in this color here. Just get that first light wash in. Even over in here. Just going to throw it all in here. I know the green's going to go on top of that. And of course, it's much more pink over in here. But I'm just getting, like I said, the first light wash in here. And we'll build from there. And the aqua leaf brushes are great because they're, like I said, a little stiff. They're in between like the Velvet Touch and the Neptune. So I'm using a little bit of water, not too much. It's a tea consistency. Oop. But just kind of not a lot of paint on my brush. So let me just get that first wash in. All right. The sky is a simple blue sky. You can use ultramarine blue, cobalt, cerulean blue. You don't have to play with it too much. Put that sky in real quick. Ultramarine's kind of dirty. Let me grab some cobalt that's close by. That's phthalo blue. 5,000 paints and I can't find the one I'm looking for, right? Here's cobalt. Just a little tap on my palette here. And I'll get it loose. Perfect color for the sky. Just gonna water it down. La la la. And just paint that sky in. Just a simple blue wash. I'm gonna go around my little roof. And my little chimneys and stuff like that. But really just kind of loose. I'm really not being really precise. You see how fast I'm throwing that in? I think when you overthink it and you're just taking too much time to put it in, it becomes overworked a little bit too much. I could add a little more color, hue if you want. Oh, my blue got into all these little colors over here. Just put a simple blue sky in. Gotta remove some of this paint on my palette. So getting that blue in there, I'm gonna remove some of this lovely color on my palette so you can see. Now the water in Venice is green, but there's a little blue here. It's kind of funny, right? So we got to do both, actually. I mean, and then we have a little, if you can see over here, there's a reflection of the wall kind of happening here. So we'll kind of paint some of that in. But again, all of this is going to be done pretty loosely. So the green, it's like you think about what color green that is. And when you're mixing greens, obviously, this would be like a darker green. You still see a reflection of the pink in here, right? And a little bit of the lines of the windows. Again, we're going to be just doing really loose. It doesn't have to be perfect. This isn't like a chartreuse green. It's a little more muted. You can try and play with ultramarine blue or even cobalt and yellow. That is kind of a dirty green. That one might be a little bit brighter. Do you have to super match the color? No, you don't. You could add a little more cobalt maybe. Let's see how that looks. Bluish green. That's all the good times of matching colors. I'm going to give me a scrapbook of this. Piece of scrap. Yeah, see? I like a cobalt and a little blue. And we can see where that's going to be in here. Again, I'm just kind of like really just kind of winging loosely. I didn't have like it marked off. Just kind of figuring where it's going to be, watering it down a little more. Obviously, it's right here by the boat. Just kind of winging, putting my brush kind of sideways, just like this. This green got a little dark here. Just want to put it on. It could be a little bit brighter. I might add a tinge of like peacock with the yellow. So that's really bright green. More yellow. We don't want it a chartreuse green, but we don't want it like a muted green either. So I'm playing around with adding in some of the brighter colors, which is with the yellow and peacock, and then watering this down. I feel like it's too muted. So we'll just punt it up a little bit. Doo-doo-doo. Just put a little bit bright green in there. Wiggle, wiggle. See, I'm hitting the boat area and kind of wiggling it here. But I just put it in quickly. You can go all the way up in here because I'm going to put a color over it. And it gets a little turquoisey kind of happening over in here. So I'm going to put some of that green here. And we can start to play with the bright blues, whatnot. I didn't put the boat in here. I wasn't getting so detailed. You see like a red boat over here. There's a little white happening in here. I'm just going to go and take my tip of my brush and kind of wiggle. Some green lines coming in here. This is like kind of gray, so we're not going to worry about that too much. And again, even here, I can just add a little bit of green wiggle. See, I'm wiggling it. Over here. Boom. Just wiggling that section. Again, this is not supposed to be like this perfect painting. So, well, this should be dry mostly. Now we can go back in and do like our wash. So like I said, it's a pinky kind of brown color. So it's pink with a little burnt umber. They're like pink tones. So I'm just going to do like a loose wash like this. See? Right over. See this gesture I'm doing here? Really kind of simple. Pink tone on that building. And you see that pink tone in other places too. Even these bricks over here, you can just get really loose. See, you use a tooth of the paper. This is the cold press arches. I'm sorry I didn't mention that, but minimal paint. I'm just kind of holding the brush on its side. And you'll see it has like those, it misses the part of the paper in some areas, which is great. It kind of gives that same look that the brick is doing. I'm getting these medium tones in here. This little bit of pink here. Right? Then we got this pinky kind of windows. You can make them gray, but I'm making them pink like they are in the photograph. These pinky kind of funky windows. And then in here, we have this, again, this section here. I'm going to get a little bit dark. I'm going to add some burnt sienna with that bright rose and a little burnt umber. So I'm getting my pink a little bit darker. Again, see? Simple, fast. Just move the brush down. Those little lines. We're not going to be super precise. Just like that. We could add the blue in first if you wanted the blue windows or gray. And then do the pink. It's up to you. It has, I'm just going to squint my eyes. I'm not going to paint every little detail in here, right? So it's like a bluish gray. So I'll have like ultramarine blue, a little gray. And you can kind of put that in between the windows that you see here. Again, it's supposed to be an expression. We haven't got really super contrasty yet. We have very muted. We have the light tones getting into the medium tones. And then we have like the darks kind of come at the end, right? I'm going to get a little more burnt sienna here and some burnt umber for the roof. I can add a little pink to it. I'm going to get a little more contrasty here going up here, like this whole entire color. That's the roof. See how fast I'm painting that? And then over here, you have these little chimneys. Excuse me. Getting more on those Italian terracotta kind of colors. And another one over here. Just really going fast, kind of simple, loose. Same thing here. I'm going to add that color kind of coming down in here, even though it's more pink. I could make it more terracotta if I want to. I can do whatever I want. It's my picture. See, it's coming together now. Add some of this color here. Go back over this. And there's like little lines in here. Just go down. We'll get a little more darker too. You see that? Making sure you can see that. There's also another little roof right here in this color. But you see, I'm not going really slow with this. I'm kind of moving a little fast. And that's the goal. This side should be much lighter than this side. We're going to add some gray tones to that. Going to go back and add a little bit of pink to this. See, we're building our little buildings here. And you can see some of the pinks happening if you want to do a little rough kind of pinky kind of tones down here. I'm tapping a paper towel. It's kind of rough down here. It has a pink tinge to it. So if you want to go back over this little house here, it's kind of pink. And this one is not. This one right here is more yellow. This one. You can get a little more yellow ochre with that one. Going back with a little pink color, rustic color, kind of throwing that in like that. And I'm going to add a little more yellow ochre to this one. Very light. By the way, you see how I taped on this whole size? So, we're getting our colors in here. We want to get real intent with our shadows as well. And then the blue and some deeper colors start happening in here. So for the shadows, I'm going to get rid of some of this green. It's flowing everywhere. Nice gray. I use Paynes gray for that. You can use a little ultramarine blue also. I work to water this down. And we can start to put our shadows on some of these areas. See? Like this is in the shadow. Now I made it much darker than you see in the picture. As you get some like oomph and like more contrast, more exciting. Even though it's still kind of in that medium tone a little bit. We have some shadows happening underneath this roof. Just like that. You see it start to build. I might want to even get my terracotta even more darker. If that makes any sense. It looks very, 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 very light. So I might go back in with another shade of this pinky kind of color tone. Get this even darker. Just punch it up a little bit more. Go in here. Doing some little rough punching here. And a little bit more down here. And you can even get a little bit darker. Want some nice contrast happening. I feel like my roof is not dark enough. So I'll get a little bit darker on some of these roofs. And the chimneys. So now you see you're getting the darker values happening. You don't want it just to be this one note. You got that gray going in there. Right? And we can start to just wash in some of the color here for this little side brick. Well, it's basically steps down to the little canal. My brain isn't thinking well today. And I'll add a little more color here. Boom. See, we're just getting really loose, getting thoughtful with our shadows. I don't know how green got over here again. And even the shadow can get even darker. Let's get some more intensity with the light and dark. We can get a little more intense. You see that? Now it's really punched out. And even go back over here again. The values is the one dark over here. You see that? The side of this little piece right here gets a little darker too. All those little tricks and techniques to help you punch out your picture, right? See how much darker that got? It still looks pretty light, but much better than it was. Like, I really wish I would a little bit darker on this, which I'm going to kind of go ahead and grab some yellow ochre mixing with some of those colors. It's just, like I said, the building is more gray, but I'm making it more yellow ochre. Just getting some color and variety in there. And pink. Get that little pink in there. Just punching it up a little bit more. You see a lot of shadow happening here. I didn't put the side window here. I just want to put a solid color. I'm going to go in here and add the pink. A little bit of this rusty kind of pinky kind of color tone. Just making your life simple by not putting in 1,000 little details. It makes you crazy. Because you can go nuts. Add some pink and some burnt umber again. Just get, again, more darker value. Just kind of loosely, see how I'm doing? There is a deep shadow coming down here, which we'll get into in a second. And a little bit more pink dark over here. See, building up the values. So, now with the windows kind of where we want to be, we can start to add in some gray windows. I'll take the Paynes gray and just go right in there. If it's not wet, put in those windows. Make sure it's not wet. Meow. So it's starting to come alive. This one's a little wet, so I'm going to wait for that one a little bit. Put the windows in here. You can see the shadow kind of darkening here. Adding in some deeper shadows up top. This is where you get the detail. A little darker color windows. So you're taking the tip of this number 10 aqua elite, grabbing a little bit darker gray. So you put the shadow right in here. It's kind of leaning like that. There's a few shadows, just like that. You see a window here with some shutters. They kind of all look the same color. You can make them a little bit darker or lighter. Let me get the windows down here. This one's a lot darker. Boom. There's some windows here. Just adding all these little details with the tip of the brush. We can go in and add some details also with some like pens. So this gray, is this dry? Okay. And go in and add the windows. I might have lost my windows, but I'll just go in here and add them. Just really quickly, see? Lines down. Same thing with this one. Get the shadow in there. Oops, my hand hit that. Time for new paper towels. So that's the intensity you want. Now we're going to go back into the water situation here. feel like, see, I messed up some of these. My hand got in the way, and look. So we'll have to just kind of like wiggle this a little bit and fix some of it. Just keep kind of working at it and removing it. There we go. I'll let this dry, and then I'll put a shadow there. Is it looking intense enough? The shadows. It seems to some still. Mine still seems a little too light, but I'm gonna work with it. Add a little more gray in here. Get even more depth. See, this is the problem. There's paint right here on the paper. I have to lift it up. It's getting everywhere. It happens. So a little more intense with the shadow here. And inside the pink window, you can see, I'm gonna put some gray inside here. These little funky windows that they have in Venice. Right? See the little shadow? And there's a little shadow under this balcony. This one got a little lost because my hand got in everything. Okay, we got most of this stuff done. And of course there's like this deep dark doorway here happening. I want to get my paynes gray not so light. I want to get a nice deep color here. And there's a few little marks over here you can just notice. Don't have to put everything in, but you can put a few things in. So take your brush and just put the dark color onto the left side of this terracotta kind of thing. Or we could use pens as well. And underneath it, losing my voice. And of course, excuse me, there's a shadow of underneath this roof line here. So just go in here with the brush real quick. Go under here. See, building, building, building. Always kind of building. Take your brush here, build some lines here. We could also use a pen, like I'm going to talk about in 5 seconds. And there was a little line here I left out by accident with white. Can always go in and use white gouache, but I try not to do that. And then the stairs. So there's different, the treads are kind of dark. See, the stairs. Okay, we'll start working on, oh my God, I'm messing up everywhere. I got gray in my little canal. So we'll start playing with that now. Adding in some blues and whatnot. I'm gonna move the gray. So again, close your eyes and squint, and you can see like this, where the green and the blues are happening. To me, like a cobalt blue in the water. Could even have a little turquoise, so I might grab some peacock. Very, very, very bright. We can tone it down a little bit. Add some Paynes gray to that. Very, very bright. Right? All in here. This is nice blue. There's a big shadow from the boat that's very dark here. But you can put this nice little blue in. Obviously, don't hit that little stick. So I'm just wiggling the color. If I hit some of my greens, that's fine. So I mixed, like I said, cobalt with a little touch of peacock and a little Paynes gray. And over here it's very green, turquoisey. It's funny how like there's all these different varieties of colors, right? There's a little blue going in between some of these green. So you kind of wiggle that. In some of the green. Fill this blue in, and we'll add some blues to it, as you can see. Don't have to get precise with everything. See, if even you go over this, water down this turquoise you have here, and you add it to this green, you'll see you're getting that shadow, the green over here. A little green. It's making it darker, adding a little blue. But I'm going to make it darker still with some green. But I'm just going to put it in because you can see some turquoise happening. Don't fret too much if it's not perfect. See, wiggle, 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 wiggle. That little shadow. There's obviously that big one back here. It's much deeper. Darker green. And we have the green happening over here. So we're getting there, right? Yellow, of course. Prussian blue. Get that deeper green. Can add some peacock blue to make it more turquoise. Gonna add some peacock blue to this. That's a nice bright green. It definitely needs more blue though. Like a nice blue green. So here it kind of starts happening here. A little shadow kind of by his head, and wiggle, wiggle. We want to reflect that pink. It's kind of like a solid turquoisey green here. See? Just fill that in. Probably could have done the red first. It doesn't really matter. We'll play with that. Still have some like deeper medium greens happening over in here. And then we've got the green up top. It's very dark. Kind of color here. I'm still going to use this green. Water does. It's very bright, but I'm going to add some of that pink to it. I'll make it a little brown. And even here, you can start to go and add some of this. Again, wiggle, wiggle. Just like this. See, I'm going back and forth with a little wiggle. Little dashes in here. You can see in the blue, that green. It's not going to be perfect. It's just going to be, you know, the reflection of those poles too. So I realized this should be a little bit lighter here. Sometimes you like mess up things. So what you do is you remove some paint, like I'm doing now. That's one way to get there. Should be a little bit lighter reflection on here on this side. See, just removing the paint. So lift and tap back. And there's a few areas over here. And I need to leave a little bit white, and I didn't leave white. That's okay. It's always going to be perfect. Just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. You can always lift some of it too with your brush and grab your paper towel and tap back. There. That'll do it to get that reflection happening. And I wanted to add some yellow ochre to that. Reflecting the building. Up here on this part, you can see the pink. If it's dry, you can add the pink. See the little green, so it's reflecting that. It's still a little wet, so I'm going to wait a little longer. So the blue down here, I want to put another wash of blue in there. I've grabbed my cobalt, a little peacock. Just kind of like put some wiggles rippling. I've got my little, I don't want to get it on my stick that he has there. And just fill in some of this. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. See, we're getting our reflection. So here on the left side of his body, there's a little pink still and a little bit of wiggles. So we're just going to play with the pink, pinky red building color here. See that? Just wiggle some of that reflection around the guy's head. What? There's a couple people on the boat. He is like bald, but I'm going to make him brown here so you can see the differentiation between him and then you put some wiggles in this little green section with the pink. See that? And we get a little bit of our dark green. Maybe water it down a little more and add some that pink to it. And we're going to be wiggling here. See? Wiggle, wiggle. And squint your eye, you're going to wiggle here. A little bit wiggle here. Going to get a little bit darker. With my wiggles here. And the green, I'm going to add some gray. It's really deep green here. I add some Paynes gray to this. Get this deep dark color happening right all the way out to here. You can see a little wiggle of that here coming down. A few of the little doorways. See, little lines. And it gets a little bit lighter on that light green coming down this way. So you're extending it, but it's a little bit lighter. Does that make sense? I hope so. Wiggle, wiggle. All these little wiggles. Gonna get a little bit darker here still. A lot of wiggling with the brush. See, I'm wiggling back in here again more. So it has that reflection. I still feel like this green is a little solid. I'm gonna add a little more bright green in there. And you want more of a dark shadow, just go a little darker. Don't worry about it too much. See, going back into my deeper greens. Squint your eye. There's a wiggle. Wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle. We're doing a lot of wiggling here. And up here. Like I said, I'm not going to make this perfection. I just really kind of wanted to do a nice little sketch. That's what I would call it. Of what I saw. Okay. Now we're going to concentrate more on the people. Right? We're getting there. This seems a little flat, this building, of course. We needed to add a shadow to the pink side. I'm going to create some Paynes gray. And just go where that shadow is. Boom. Go right on there. I'm still using that number 10, surprisingly. Get that shadow, that deep shadow in there. So it makes sense. See that? Get that shadow happening. It's going down the canal. And we can exaggerate some shadows too. So here, the windowsill, little lines, wiggle here. See, under, wiggle. Some shadows, shadow under here. You can start to get a little bit more intense with your shadows. These are the details we talked about. So it comes alive. All that good stuff. Now it comes alive. I'll grab some Paynes gray and I'll put that down in here. This canal part. And a little gray, or even a little brown for the little poles that are here. Can add some gray and a little bit of brown. These are the poles. And then wiggle, wiggle, wiggle next to it. All right, so then the detail for the boat guy. So just really kind of rough in his body, the boat, the people. I'm going to try to do like the flesh color. If you want to do flesh color, it's basically like a blush. So I would use like a bright rose, cadmium yellow deep. Now it's orange, right? Keep going back and forth. Add a little more bright rose and then water it down. Really water it down and you get like a nice blush color. Just do something like that. Getting real detailed with this little boat guy and the people. You can make them like dots if you want. I mean, here's his little head, his arm, right, and his little hand right here. You're not seeing much of their bodies. The heads of the other ones could be black and brown. So like this guy has like brown here. This guy too. I'm still using number 10 brush, by the way. Blackish brown here. She's got like kind of a ponytail. Maybe the hair goes a little longer. And then just kind of finagle all the other little colors. This is like basically like a white sheet, but you have a little blue. Add a little blue. And of course, there's some blackish blue. I don't know what you'd call it. Some of these tones in here. Just go in here, go real deep with some of these. See, it's a navy kind of color tone here. You can make, even though the shirts are blue, you can change things up if you want. You can make them brown or whatever, colorful orange. But I'm going to put a little blue for his shirt. She didn't have, like, she had like a tank top. The girl, I mean, make it orange. Why not? I don't have to paint the same things that they had. I can just make an orange shirt. Right? And then there's a person just sitting there. They could have like a green shirt. My people are kind of blending right now. And then there was that red color in the boat, pinkish red. So I have a magenta, a little yellow, kind of like red tones you see happening here. There's this little medallion thing here. Kind of red tone here, a little black, and then a red tone again. You're just kind of filling in some of these colors here. A little black and then pinky kind of red. That's like the boat kind of interior. And water this down. Maybe I shouldn't have put her as orange because now she's blending. And just all these little details don't have to be super, super detailed. Like, I'm going to go back in here. Around his hand, there's something like really dark right there. There's the pole. I don't want to get that pole. Make sure we have that nice light color. You can paint that first. It's just like a nice light beigey brown. So I'll add a little burnt umber, a little yellow. You can just do that first. course mine is next to the whale. That's his little pole. And we're just going to fill in some of these little colors here. And he's wearing dark jean color tone. And the stripes. So they're like navy, black, whatever. I'm going to do his jeans. Well, fill that in. He's got white sneakers on. I'll leave a little space in here so you can tell that they're jeans, and then just do the little stripes. Again, I'm using this big brush so it comes out really loose. See, we're just showing the guy. Get so detailed you'll like lose it. And I'll water it down. I'll add a little cobalt to that blue that I just used, and start playing around with filling in the boat. Going around his little sneakers. This little white line leaving between. There's a reflection of the pink here. You get super detailed, you'll lose everything. So I'm just going to fill this in with this like cobalt blue colored tone here. And then I'll add some deep dark details that you see in the boat. It's a cobalt mixed with some of the grays that I had there. You can see the boat has this reflection of blue. Oops. The cobalt needs to be brighter than that. It's getting all muddy. It happens when I have too many things on my palette. Okay, I couldn't find my cobalt, and it's really bright. So it's like a nice pretty cobalt kind of blue thing happening here. Little peaks of some of that color down here next to the little stick. And then it gets a little bit darker. I'm using Paynes gray up in here. This little, I would do the medallion kind of thing first. So that yellow gold color, basically mix some yellow with some burnt umber. Just like a little medallion, a little gold thing happening up here. These are just little tweaky details, right? Paint all the lighter contones. We had that pinky color from the building happening here, the reddish color reflection here. Kind of put some of that over in here. Again, I'm gonna have to get a little bit darker. Sometimes our things dried pretty light with our green. Got my green. I need to mix up some more dark green. It dried pretty light and we want it darker. It's more of an intense green. Just go over another pass. Same thing with that pinky color here. I'm just going to fill this in and then start to do the reflections with the green. It'll look much easier and better. Pinky pink colors. Get a little rustic, adding a little wash of this. All right. So then the boat, Paynes gray, a little burnt umber, a little dark colors kind of happening. You can tweak it up with a little blue up in here. You can see a lot of these blue color tones. And then I've got the Paynes gray. Kind of these deep colors up in here. The pointy of the boat. Just going around the tips of these. Little medallion. So in between the little red, I'll add that little black color. again, don't feel like it has to be perfect. Mine's not by any means perfect. Just little doodads kind of happening in here. I'm adding the dark blue. And then we have that deep dark blue shadow from the boat on the side. Which reminds me, I'm going to put a little cobalt right in here. Okay, so then we get that dark shadow happening. So I'm using Paynes gray. Boom. It has like a little, you can see like a little stringy kind of thing happening here. Little 1, 2, 3 strings. And then go in here and tweak up the boat on the side with some dark. So you see some weird kind of like shadows happening here. Line, and then a square space, and line. These are just like little tweaks we're going to be doing. And the blue around his feet. He's wearing those white sneakers. I would dull him down a little bit, have a bit of color on him, so white. And the same thing with this. I don't know whatever it is behind these people. It's not really white, it's got blue. So water it down and add a little blue. Over in here. Just a loose little gondola guy. And then here, it's hard to differentiate his face, so kind of go in here and do like a little squiggles with the green around his head. So now you can see the head better. I know it's a little tedious, but you couldn't see his head. Now you can see his head. Gonna add the dark shadow from the boat. See the boat's reflecting? Right here. And just little tweaks of little wiggles. But that's how it goes. A little green, a little dark Paynes gray happening over here. That's how you get the reflection of that. And now everything's just like punching up with adding some more deeper values. What happens is everything dries so light, right? And you can see it's a little too light right here. I might go in and add a little gray. The darker values, the green up top, you can tweak that up. I'm getting some deeper green here, bluish green. So you get really kind of wiggle that reflection. My green is still kind of light. I want a little bit darker. You have to constantly like probably add another layer or so. Tweaking, adding a little deeper wiggles. I'm going to add some dark color here on the side of these posts just to oomph it up. It just needs a little something. Same thing with this. Get that green a little oomphed. And now it looks like more like the shadow in there, right? And even this Paynes gray I'm going to put down in here a little deeper. It's a really deep shadow. So these should get a little bit darker. It's very, very light. I have to tweak some of these. But you know, we already have the colors we talked about a million times. You don't need to show you 5,000 times how to paint and add some tweaking colors. Just get a little deeper with some of these colors that we had before. Go back over and play with them again. And see, I'm going to go back over here with this. Just want a little bit darker. Just feels too late. These ones are supposed to be later, but not too much later. I'm going to add a little color here, squash it down. You see what I'm saying? You're just adding a little more values to that, so it just gets kind of punched up. And even here, like, just tweaking, adding in some grays and some browns down the bottom here. These treads a little bit darker, and you can play around with some of your pens. I'm going to put a little window in here that I didn't put in. And we didn't do the greens on this little balcony, but you can just kind of tippy tap some of the greens you see here growing, the vines, and over. I just did some yellow with some Prussian blue. Right, there's a little bit of green there. A little green growing on top too. These are all like little tweaks. I might go back in and make my blue a little deeper too. Just in some areas. Just for effect. Just feel like it's so light still. Just giving a little tweak. It just punches it out a little more. Get that blue in here. See? Tweak that up a little bit. All these good things you can do. The boat. And this side, this little green side. I'll get my green darker again. Just gonna tweak by adding little teeny dashes in here. So it looks like the building reflection. Little teeny ones. Get back with my green in here. Little teeny dashes. Same thing with this one up here. It's just a little bit darker. I'm going around his head so you can. He has like a nice bald head, but maybe you can add some hair to him. You know. And that's our Venice Canal. Like, so now I might get a little more intense with the color. You know, to punch it up like in here. These are things you do kind of at the end. You might want to grab, where's my fountain pen if I can find it? Probably don't have it with me. Or even a Sharpie. Start playing around with using some pens too to give you a fine of detail, especially because of the little building here. Going around those little things I drew. And you can do like the little tooth edge marks. Don't be afraid to play with pens as well. Especially like the little balcony and the lines. Combination of both. It's kind of fun. There's a lot of long lines happening on this window going down here. Same thing with this. Going across. Right? And you could outline the body and the head a little more if you want to do that. Of the people and his hand and the little gondola stick. And even out here, like, so I just kind of sketched out, adding in some of the detail work on the roofs with my little trusty Sharpie pen. And the lovely little buildings have these. These are just little tweaks you can do to make your picture a little more interesting. Not necessary, but I think so. That's our Venice scene. And like I said, I might go in and add a little more value to punch it up, but pretty much that's it. Like, it's sometimes you have to keep doing another layer or so. You don't know, you know. Sometimes it seems like here I'm going to go back in with my Paynes gray and really get that this area like it's supposed to be. Punched up the boat, tweak the boat a little bit, do some of the little detail work that you see in the photograph. It's just simple little lines and whatnot. Get over here and punch up the little stick a little more. There's the seat. I lost this person here. Maybe I'll get him back. This one too. Can you tell there's a person? I don't know. There's supposed to be people there. I lost the chick head right here. I think her outfit should have been not orange. Maybe I'll lighten that up a little bit. Her hair was black, so it was okay with that. But the little guy down here, we lost him, so I'll put a green shirt on him so you can see him. Little tweaks. This was some kind of blanket or something happening here. And my human here, he's a little too bare skin. I'll go back in and add some tones to him. See? A little too fair skin, and then the sneakers are a little too white. I'll add a little wash color on the sneakers. And even on his shirt, see, a little gray. Can add a little blue too. You know it's a white shirt, but you see you add a little shadow. It just changes it. I didn't like her little shirt being orange because it was too close to the red. So I can try and add some yellow to it or something like that. Yeah. The yellow shirt. And I'll add some tone to that. You just play around with that kind of stuff. Those are just minor, super minor details. And again, I'm gonna go back out here. I have like the vine growing here, but I'm not gonna put that in there. Just gonna put some rough color here. You don't have to put everything in you see. That's the beauty. And for the roof, might get a little darker with some of the little tiles, like show that there's little tiles kind of like going like this in a line. See? Those Italian tiles. And again, a little darker on some of these areas. All the little tweaks happening. Get that pink a little bit darker still, so it's emphasized in the windows. You see what I'm saying? Oops, I'm sorry, you didn't even see that. I darkened the windows a little bit. But that's our Venice Canal. That's what I'm sticking with. I'll fix this little staircase. It looks kind of goofy. Add some dark color here and a little bit on the side. And then you could tweak it with some deeper color here. So it doesn't look so goofy. All these little things. Take your brush and kind of go on its side a little bit to get the rough texture like it's brick on this building. I didn't leave that white little architectural detail, so I could go in and add a little white gouache, like right here. You see that? Even some of the treads or something on this. If you forget that, don't freak out. Just add a little gouache and you'll know that it's there. All right, I hope this was fun. You just break it down that way. So that's how I break it down, you know. And I might even go back in and add some deeper color. I don't know. Depends. I wanted to even get more loose than I did. Sometimes when I'm painting and talking to you guys, I end up getting really tight, and I don't want to do that. I was trying to get it much looser. It happens. Get my green a little bit lighter. I'm just going to add some deeper color wiggles in here. Just feel like a lot of the time it dries really light, so you have to kind of go back in a few times. get the color that you want. And that's that. I'm going to have to just wiggle a little bit in here. And we are done with our Venice canal. And I might have added some like detail with some gray happening. You know, you can do some gray happening here. Like I said, just tweak it. The windows are too light. Get a little bit darker in some areas. And that's that. All right. Thank you guys so much for being patrons. I hope you have a great day. Take your time with this. Have fun. Go loose. Don't get so tight. Use a big brush. Like this is a 10. I used 10 actually for the whole thing. And I'm going to fill in. So I kept on thinking of this guy. I'm going to make him make the guy not bald. I don't know. We'll see. That's that. You're just kind of wiggling your brush for a lot of this water areas. You know, a couple of values here. Playing with that, with the green. And over here. Try not to get too tight with it. It happens to the best of us, including myself. And for like you see the gray here kind of happening, you just kind of look at this, holding it inside to get that rough texture happening on the building. And use your paper to its advantage of like how it does the nice little crevices. Right, I'm gonna get a little shadow happening here. And that's that. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a fantastic day. Oh, I'm going to remove the tape. Oops. Show you, reveal the picture. And that's Venice. Well, one of them anyway. I took a bunch of photographs. You know, and I really feel like the shadow here should be a little bit darker. I might go back in with my gray on this one. Get this much darker. You see? Sometimes you have to go over things a couple of times. Just feel like it wasn't dark enough. So you just go back over it. If it's supposed to be a deep shadow, it wouldn't be that light. Right? There you go. All right, guys. Have a fantastic day. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.